Ladies and gentlemen, I am, without apology, an optimist about our nation's future. Our national strengths are formidable. Our weaknesses, compared with the rest of the world, are few. And if our policy settings are right, the challenges we face for the future are entirely manageable. My optimism, therefore, is not based on some sort of feel-good factor. Instead, it is based on a cold, hard analysis of the facts, including our ability to manage change when change is necessary. And the core fact is this: Australia is seen around the world as one of the strongest economies, one of the most stable societies, as well as a nation underpinned by a robust national security. For these reasons, it's just plain wrong for anybody in our national political debate to be talking Australia down. You might well ask, at least in his absence, what Mr Abbott's alternative economic diagnosis is, and based on that diagnosis, what his alternative policy prescription for the national economy is. Mr Abbott says that Australia's core economic problem is that we are suffering from a debt and deficit crisis. He said in his budget reply of 2013, there is now a budget emergency. Mr Abbott is a formidable politician. He is the nation's most formidable exponent of negative politics. And negative politics, above all, is designed to induce feelings of worry, of anxiety and fear in the community. He and the Liberal Party have concluded that fear is a far better political bet than engaging in a debate on the facts, which is why, once again, Mr Abbott appears to be absent from our debate today on the economic facts of the nation. So here's a few facts. Fact one, over to my right, you will see this illustrated by a graph. I was going to use 27 graphs today, but I was restrained by my staff in case any of the ladies and gentlemen of the press were perhaps to accuse me of excessive programmatic specificity. Fact one, despite Mr Abbott saying every day the economy is in crisis, since we've been in office, the Australian economy has in fact grown by 14%. Whereas over the same period of time, the economies of the UK, France and Germany have actually shrunk in size. UK, France and Japan have actually shrunk in size. And those of Germany and the United States have only grown about 1/5 the rate of the Australian economy, while Canada has grown by around half our rate. Not a bad report card. Fact two, Australia has one of the, to my left, one of the lowest levels of government debt as a percentage of our economy in the OECD. Fact three, Australian government debt per capita is one of the lowest in the OECD. Fact four, Australia's budget deficit as a proportion of the size of our economy is also one of the lowest in the OECD. And fact five, Australia's unemployment rate is lower than almost every major advanced economy. It's gone up to 5.7 today. This is a challenge, and it underlines the absolute paramount importance of prosecuting the new national competitiveness agenda that I've outlined earlier in my remarks. So this is the factual economic report card for Australia that Mr Abbott does not want to debate today. Let's go to debt and deficit levels in particular, because this is what Mr Abbott has banged on about for 3 years now, and it will dominate Mr Abbott's negative message for the election campaign. Our debt level is scheduled to peak at 11.4% of the size of our economy. Of course, we should always be concerned if we have a debt, and we should always repay our debts responsibly. But Australia does have one of the lowest debt levels in the world. Because Mr Abbott's exaggerated claims on debt and deficit are based on a falsehood, the whole house of cards he has constructed against the government's economic credentials, resting on his flimsy foundation of debt and deficit attack, comes tumbling down. The challenge for the Australian government is to accelerate a new national competitiveness agenda that boosts our long-term productivity growth. And we need to aim for a productivity number with a 2 in front of it. And to get there, we need to bring the nation together, not pull the nation apart. Australian Labor governments know how to manage the great transitions in our economy. We did it with the Hawke and Keating governments when they transitioned Australia from the old, closed, post-war economy to the new internationalised economy that set us up for the future, producing 22 years of sustained economic growth and an underlying inflation rate of 2.5%. That's a world record. And we did it again under this government when we transitioned Australia through what Paul Keating recently and eloquently described to me as the valley of death of the 2008-2009 Great Global Recession. And I believe we can transition Australia again, capturing the gains of the Asian century while diversifying the Australian economy, so that in the future we have all sectors, all our cities and our regional centres lifting their economic performance. Australian Labor governments manage transitions. We sketch the future. We harness the energy and the ambition of our people, and as the people's government, we put policy to work to put the changes in place that best secure our future.